Hello and hi, this is Skorsen and welcome back to another episode of SK Learns. Overall, I'm going to be mentioning that I will be doing the audio for this video and then editing it the next day, so I don't know exactly when this will come out, but I'm going to try to get it done. I wanted to explain some of the ways that I ended up doing this Blood Series animation, the eyes animation. This was the first thing that I did in this project, and this was me testing out to see if I could do the animation for the compositing for the eyeball that I did. I did this differently than most. I ended up using a fusion composition, mostly starting with an adjustment clip and then making a fusion version. And if we go inside, this is what it looks like. In the end, this is the final version, so this is what the media out looks like, but it started with the base background. This was a texture that I made using an image that I've used for pretty much all of the Blood series, but I've just edited it a bit and then added a little bit more grain and texture to it, so it's pretty grungy and very abstract. I also have a second one, which I ended up using for many of the other background constructions. So these are just textures. I did like 3 to 4 that I could use as overlays. Then I added a background, which is this vignetting, and then I just used an ellipse mask and basically made it a little bit darker compared to the original. After that, I added the eye. Now, how did I do this? Well, I have the first media 1, and this is called animation1.mp4. Now, this is what the actual full animation looks like. I ended up doing this animation in Krita, and that was my art program for actual, like, more traditional animation, and that one is just animated over the course of the time, and it just kind of waits there, and that's it. What I did was use a delta keyer to mask it out, and that's what that looks like. And I masked it out specifically to the color of the background. Then I used a transform to make it larger, and then I added it onto the shot. After that, I made an ellipse. In fact, well, actually, this is an older test. I wanted to do a vignetting that looked like tendrils, but I never ended up doing that. It just didn't turn out as good as I wished it would. But what I then did was add the more grain. This is another alternate texture that I did. And then I added that on top as an soft light, so it does kind of change and make a slight difference. Then I added a filter, which that actually is a noise filter, and then a resize, because it's actually, the original quality is this, so it's higher resolution, and then I lowered it down to the correct aspect ratio. And then I added it to the media now, and that was it. I then exported this with no audio at all in the export page. And then I effectively made a lot of the tests in here. So this is that export, and what I did was, if I zoom in here, you can actually see a lot of this stuff doesn't have names, but you can see emboss, mosaic blur. These are tests that I was going to do, and if we just undo that for a bit, you see the difference. I wanted there to be a mosaic. I ended up removing that and not doing that, but overall this has like fast noise that does the bubbling animation, and then the film damage, which adds some different toning color. And then I exported this out and did multiple versions. I did a export of it with fast noise and the not fast noise. And then after this, I did a test with the wall, because the original sketch, which I may overlay, but the original sketch that I had as the plan, the storyboard, had a wall and the character was actually going to be leaning against it. During this time when I made this and this, I did not have the actual character drawn yet, nor know on how to do the angle. This ended up making me very interested in the idea of doing a lot of the kind of backgrounds and all that stuff within Fusion, and that kind of saves time and all that stuff, so I don't have to draw a background. Here's just some overlay stuff, and then here's after I have done the character design, I ended up adding some of the artwork and doing tests on some of the effects for what that shot would look like. This is what the full look the full artwork of that shot looks like without the dynamic zoom, which actually is just here. That's what I do for the cameraing. And then here's the base character. And this does not have animation. This is actually a version of the artwork that has the ears connected to the character, in which I had to make multiple different versions. And that's where we get to a lot of these shots with this, where this one is, yes, so this, if I remember correctly, yes, this is the main elf shot. And if we look at here, that is open in Fusion? I don't know. Okay, no, it's not Fusion, so that's a compound clip. So open in timeline. Yes, so main elf shot is here. And then we have the Fusion animation for the ears. And this is all these overlays. Again, remember that texture that I was talking about in my last video when I discussed about the Copeland or the Serial Experiments lane edit that I did. That one has the same texture that I've been using in the Blood series, and it's literally just a grain that I animated back in Krita and ended up just spacing it out and changing the movement. You could do this in here if you really wanted to, but yeah, that's how I do some of the texture. Then I did some different like overlays where these are different like color burns and all that stuff, but the main thing is that the entire shot, if we kind of silence these for a bit, this is what the kind of shot looks like, where these eyes are just copied, and you can see like the kind of boxing in where this is changed color, this is added on here. This ends up changing after a while because, again, that's what these two things are. So they're actually like overlays and stuff, and then this just adds more texture, and that is just done, if I remember correctly, with just me doing the cropping. So if I actually, yeah, so how I got that little chunk from like these textures here, I just used the crop tool and then overlaid it. But then we have the character animation, and this is where, yep, the character is animated. So if we open up this in Fusion, then we see the animation here. This is the actual character fully done, and as you can see, the original, and this is just that without the ears. And then here, no ears. The ears are gone. And this is very odd looking to me, but overall, what I did was take this ear and then this ear, which are from the same exact image, but because they have a rectangle mask, if we undo that for a sec, they are the one singular image, and then this mask just masks it out. And then here is an ear mask, which, as you can see, I separate these two as separate versions. So I make a copy of just one of the ear artwork. So we have the no ears with the character not present. So, and then those are combined here. And actually, I made the ear mask by using a erase layer in Krita. So that will be hard to explain, but overall, there's an erase kind of option where it removes details using a paint, some sort of artwork. And that means what I did was just use this as a mask in here and exported that out separately. And this is what it looks like with all those combined within the actual Krita program, in which I just technically just made the layers separate, but I had a combined version as a placeholder, effectively. And the animation here is pretty much done. I did more masking with the rectangles, and this is where the animation is, and that's just, I changed the corner position to where the ears are, and then I duplicated this animation and then had to inverse it for this. So effectively, I just typed in here painstakingly, correcting and making the numbers negative and just altering it so it looked all correct. And then we do one merge where they have one ear, and then the other merge where they have the other, and then the ear mask just masks that ending merge off so they don't look all weird. and then the ear full won't kind of mask over the face and just look odd. So overall, that's one way on how I did that. After this, what I did was do a test where I went to look at a lot of the, this one's interesting. I'll go over that a little bit more. But the main thing is in the next animation, the most recent longer animation that I did, which was the bug animation, that one. I did a different way of doing this where I made the only one ear and then duplicated it over. It had its own kind of differences and issues, but overall, it's pretty much the same principle and action. In any case, after that, I added blush. So, so I did the blush actually in the version, and then just had a slight background, and then that is, I think that is overlaid onto there. And then I add more, this is for the eyes where they're red, and then that's added with a glow. So original, and then the eyes are glowing. I did not do this eye glow in the bug animation. I don't know why, but I just didn't. I didn't want to. And in any case, I do like on how this looks. I liked on how it looked. And the one thing that was the biggest issue for the ellipses and the blush was trying to make sure that the actual ears didn't lose any of the blush and it didn't move out of frame or any of that. And then after that, I add a hair highlight, and that one's just done with a polygon and then a slight color, and then that one is overlaid slightly. I also had waviness. Now this is going to be interesting. So waviness was something that I first messed with in this one, and I've actually recently done an animation in which it was called SKA animation test, and that one was messing around with animating tentacles, and that was a very interesting test on how to do the waviness modifier. And if I turn this on, you don't notice really any waviness until we start animating the character and moving it around. You see it's bouncing or kind of breathing in some way, and that to me added a lot of dynamic stuff. I think I did remove it because I think it messed with the dynamic zoom as the camera panned. You couldn't really notice that. I think I've left it in. I don't remember exactly. Overall, the scale's very small and the strength's very low, but it's really quick animation for what it is. And the thing is you can make it automatically mirrors, and in any case, it mirrors it from the artwork, but also you're going to already zoom in. So always make sure that there's enough area for the character to kind of lose information. So mainly just focus on the center and where that's meant to be kind of displayed. Overall, it was a very interesting test that I decided to do there. And after that, I added more stuff and then did all the texturing and added the background and all that. And then this is kind of the final shot. So that's not actually in this one. That would be, I think it was in test timeline. Yeah. So, so I did this in the test timeline, and this is actually the shot that I ended up exporting first. And as you can see, we have a lot of these custom name tools, but overall, this is with no sound at all. So as you can see, I have an adjustment clip. This is for a defocus node. I added this at the very end before I fully exported it, but I'm just going to explain it in order rather than really in sequence on when I made it. But I have a dynamic zoom and then a blur. So that kind of blurs it out, make it look a little bit different. And as you can see, the base export animation. So you can see I test no mosaic.mov. This was an export through the launcher or deliver tab that I ended up exporting and then re-adding into the project file. And what I did was do a lot of instances of me clipping certain sections and then right-clicking and then going retime controls and then or change speed and then just clicking it into reverse. So it makes it sustain longer. And you don't notice it here that much, but overall the animation originally is rather short, but reversing it and then changing with the timing really does save a lot of time. And then with the dynamic zoom and blurring, it really does kind of mask it out. And as you can see, I still have dynamic zoom and blur, but also we now see the main elf shot here. Now this has all of the kind of additions to it to make it look different. This one, yes, this one's one of the ones where I did export it out with the bouncing. So the waviness is added on this one. So I never changed it, but I thought I wanted to. Then we have a fast noise, and I just called that bubble, but it is a fast noise. And this is, without the fast noise, I wouldn't be able to do all the weird warbling effects that I do in any of my animations. So really, I remember when I first upgraded, I was really reluctant, but this fast noise was the kind of main reason why I went, because either that or I would have had to made it myself. And that's probably just me using a fast noise and then having it be a displacement, but this is just way more simpler. Overall, then it goes into here, and then here we see something really interesting. Remember when I talked about gradient maps? This is what that is. Now, I won't fully go into it yet, but I have this sustained for a little bit, and then you'll see it and notice it here. It's copied here and then just lowered down, but this is the same thing, just the same copy, so it doesn't change, and then it slowly fades out again. And that was when I added the kind of cool sound, but this wasn't in here yet. Then I have the artwork addition and edit that I did, and I have some texture, do all that, DZ and blur, and copy that, and it looks really different with all this color correction. Then we have the film damage that's added. We have that slowly go out, and this is just the same shot copied, but you don't notice it because it's zoomed in because of the dynamic zoom. So it really does give a mimic of having more animation than you actually do, but it is really good to do that because it saves a lot of time for me, and it means I can work a lot more complex things and then just reuse them later. After that, then I have again reversed the shot from the original and have it duplicate, so you see it and notice it kind of move back to where, because it's just doing this animation where it has the kind of dynamic zoom. So, and that one's dynamic zoom and blur, and all I did was just, because these are two separate shots and all I'm doing is reversing it, that's not necessarily changing the animation, in the sense of the dynamic zoom is normally not here. So if I remove that, then it's just the full shot and you're going to see it kind of clip. But yeah, so it does nothing at all. Because I have the dynamic zoom and blur, I had to reverse it because it's here, so it doesn't kind of go out of sync and make the screen jitter and make it look odd. And then here's the adjustment clip, and this has no Gaussian blur. It did, but what I, after the fact, what I did is edit this and then have it have a defocus again. So this is what that shot looks like, and that's what I did with the defocus. And that one was copied all the way to over here. So I did this one first, and then I just copied it to here after the fact. So it really was just me messing around. Then this is just a background, a solid color, and that one just fades in. And then after doing all this, so I had the kind of bubbling fast noise, then I have the film damage, the color corrector, and all that stuff. Then I export this out as one long shot, no audio. Again, there is no audio track here. And then I finally go into, I think this is the main timeline. And as you can see, I_base 2, and I think that one was one whether I had it with mosaic blur or not, but then I have this all edited with the sound, and then my symbol. This is referencing an older symbol of mine, the older version, just because that was what I was inspired by for a little bit. I have that, did the sound, and then added like grayscale, so it kind of boosts up the kind of styling a bit. and then an adjustment clip that adds noise and all that stuff, and adds some more kind of embossing for it, because I was having some problems with clipping originally where it made these really annoying bright spots in there, and I couldn't, and the only way to really get rid of those is to export it and then add it into the scene again. I guess that just ended up working. And then this is just the final shot. So that may not be the most in-depth explanation. I think it was decent. But yeah, the one thing that I have realized recently with the sound is a lot of these are louder than the original first edit. Some of them are clips from different areas and places and all that stuff, and I've added them together, are parts of some music that I ended up doing in just a free website called Beepbox, and I just messed with the sound. And some of these are just from older videos. So you see note.mov, red.mov. So some of these are older exports that are from the Blood Series file, and I just took away the video and then added them in. So a lot of it's reusing older sounds, and then I just kind of do a mixture between sometimes reversing the audio and really layering it on. I have like drones that I did, and this is all done in, I did these in Audacity, but overall, when I export audio, I always really did mix it down to where you don't, you never have your ears hurt. So it means that everybody has to raise their volume higher than they should, and it's really just aggravating. So when I'm editing this, my ears slightly hurt because I have to hear it at max volume. That's the way that I've figured it out. It needs to be closer to 0.0 effectively. That's kind of what I've learned. And I'm gonna test that out with this audio, where I normalize it or raise it up as close as possible and make it sound decent. So I'll be testing that out in this video. But in any case, this was the way that I did that. This has been Skorsen, and always remember to keep creating. Goodbye.